Hello, welcome back to another episode of the DD Geopolitics show. I am one of your hosts, the worser half. Chris is here, still broken, but not
but
still never broken, but still fractured, never broken. So much is going on. I don't even know where to start. Tulsi's testifying, if you could call it that. Iran is bombing everything that has to do with energy in sight. And Americans are once again satisfied with the bullshit crumbs that people want to throw at them. So we're going to get into all of it. Greetings to, no, this is not a backwards hoodie. This is an LL Bean. I don't even know what it is. It's like a Assassin's Creed.
We didn't
plan this. We didn't plan this. We're just on the same vibe right now.
We're on the spectrum, so to speak.
Very much so. Very much so. I guess you're doing pretty well over there. Russia's laughing to the bank.
Russia is laughing to the bank. Of course, I got news today. Some dear friends, like family to me, they lost family members already in Iran from the bombing. So already it's affecting people in my orbit. You know, it affects political leaders. We understand that. We are mourning them. We are going to continue on, but already it's affecting friends and family and their family members and friends. So that's really heavy. And I got to
keep that in mind when they start complaining about gas prices or grocery prices or austerity. That is inevitable.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this was completely unnecessary. Everybody's saying it, and it's the truth. It was completely unnecessary. This war didn't need to happen. Of course, it was manufactured, and we know why it was manufactured. But now the results are human lives. It's not only economic. There are human lives lost. Thank you for everybody in the chat for condolences and sympathies. I will make sure to relay them also. And we are here. Iran's resisting.
We continue. Speaking of which, I think we're making waves. We're very much over the target. We have some of the big fish in the Jewish community after us right now, and I love it. So if you're listening, please don't limit yourself to clipping the spaces. Please clip the streams, okay? We need more people to clip the streams. They keep clipping things and posting them, and I keep going, okay, but I was right. Why are they upset?
So. You know, I'm writing a book. I'm not writing a book. I'm sorry. I am writing a book, but I'm writing an article now on Orthodox Christianity and Zionism for an academic journal, a very famous one.
We need that.
I'm going back and I'm looking at notes of interviews I did with my grandparents. In retrospect, they would have been canceled by everybody, but they're sort of, they're reading these like Orthodox books in like the 80s and 90s, and all the books, like I have the quotations from books by some archimandrite about the Antichrist, and it's all like the international Zionist conspiracy, and they're all just every single text, even bishops, archbishops, everybody's saying international Zionist conspiracy. And that's going to bring the doom. That's going to bring, and you see now, and actually, I was thinking to myself, I said, if only she was alive, because she went twice on pilgrimage to the Holy Land. She never said Israel. She never referred to it as Israel, ever.
Holy Land, yeah.
And now they closed the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Mm-hmm.
They closed the church for the first time. We might not have Pascha services. There might not be the flame coming down.
No, they said that they will not be doing that.
That's crazy, because I don't know if people know that flame travels to all the patriarchates. Like it flies on a private jet to Moscow. It flies on a jet to Cyprus. It flies to Greece. It flies to Constantinople, to Belgrade. And now they're not going to do it.
Well, you know why.
But hey, Huckabee's happy over there. She's great. She's happy to see.
I'm busy making AI videos.
It's crazy.
I'm glad you brought up religion, because we're going to kind of touch on that in this first segment. But first, please go to the website and pick up some merch. And guys, go to the Substack. It's free. Everything is free on the Substack. But ddgeopolitics.com, you can find the Substack there, up-to-date YouTube videos, and merch. No taxes, no shipping, no tariffs. I also made that one. So, but we're going to get into this resignation. Okay. I am sussed out by these people. Okay. I don't want to crush anybody's dreams, but I am going to rain on a little bit of your parade. But we need to be cynical and we need to be pragmatic in times like this. So we're going to start with Joe Kent before we get to the meat and potatoes of this show. But Joe Kent, he resigned, I guess, yesterday. Who knows? It's all one big day these days. So I highlighted some of the more pertinent parts. Obviously, Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Early in the administration, influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign, so on and so forth. I highlighted that one part in purple on purpose. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani, who he spells completely incorrectly, and by defeating ISIS. That was the first red flag for me. You know, I guess everybody glossed over that part and kind of just was like, yes, we got a guy on our side. Yeah, all right. And so, as a gold starred husband who lost my beloved wife, Shannon, in a war manufactured by Israel. So you're like a third of the way there. So your wife died in Syria, but you're glad that Qasem Soleimani was murdered by Trump? Like, you guys understand how this isn't jiving?
Oh, he's not one of us. You know that.
Here is his beloved wife. Yes, Shannon. She did lose her life in Syria. She was a Navy, I believe, officer.
I think she was an intel. Was she intel officer?
Intel. And here he is. He was also involved in some of the stuff. He's Lieutenant Colonel Aguilar also knows him, which is interesting to me as well. But I won't get into that.
But it's like a small, relatively.
Right, sir. They're all operators.
They're all operators, of course.
They're all operators. And you and I know very well from being in the military, once an operator, always an operator. So, anywho, we're going to keep going. So, obviously.
We could say the same thing about like Ari Ben Menashi, once Mossad, always Mossad, even though he's also he's close to Seymour Hersh and has done all sorts of stuff, in that realm. Who knows? At the end of the day, who knows? I'm just saying, be careful, just always with a, pinch or a bag of salt. I don't know, whatever you like.
Okay, well, I don't have his tweets. I thought the producer was going to make a collage, but I did pull some. In his older tweets, he praises the wars, loves the wars, praises Israel, loves Israel, calls Gazans Hamas, says that, and this is also incredibly important. During this whole kerfuffle, because obviously the Jews are going absolutely insane, because the new mantra is, if you're against this illegal and ridiculous war, you're an anti-Semite. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But here's a tweet after Laura Loomer obviously comes after him.
Larry,
sorry. I don't mean to misgender. But read this. Islamic terrorism is generic. We were specific in our report and focused on Al-Qaeda. I've done and will continue to do worse to Islamic terrorists and jihadis than tweet. But that's the extent you'll do. What does that mean? What are you talking about? And then he deleted it. Why did you delete it? Did you delete it because of the remark at Larry at the bottom? Or did you delete it because of the middle? Because now you got to be nicer to Muslims because you've left the Zionist flock. So that was red flag number 2 for me. I didn't like that. That didn't sit well for me after the resignation letter with the incorrect name and of Qasem Soleimani and the thanking that he was assassinated like an absolute moron. It tells me you don't know anything about what's going on, despite being deployed over there and losing your wife. You still didn't bother knowing what was going on. And you're the deputy to Tulsi Gabbard, who we're going to dig into as well. She's another mess. She's testifying today. It's an absolute travesty. I have some of his old tweets written down. In May 22nd, 2021, the Gaza Strip is controlled by Hamas, a terrorist organization that calls for the death of all Jews. Oh, okay. Let's continue. His followers did get in his ass on that tweet. So March 6th, 2024, Kushner and Trump have brought more peace and prosperity to the Middle East than any previous POTUS or U.S. diplomat. April 12th, 2024, starts to blame Biden, tries to shift this sort of blame over to Biden. October 7th, 2024. October 7th happened because Biden-Harris gave Iran access to over $100 billion.
Which isn't true, but okay, this narrative keeps, continuing.
Okay, so once again, his whole shtick is that Trump doesn't get any blame. Also important to note that he does have a new wife. She's also a former intelligence officer and a West Point graduate who works for American Contingency. American Contingency is a preparedness company. She also works for Gray Zone, which I thought was interesting. Maybe his change of heart comes from his new wife working with people at the Gray Zone who possess better politics than what he possessed prior to the resignation. Maybe that's the case. Let's hope. I hope.
Listen, I would judge him. I would judge him now on what, like tonight, I'm going to watch the interview. And I'm going to
watch it for sure.
Because for me, listen, I want to leave the door open, and I believe that people can change. I believe that. I believe that because people have changed in both directions on a lot of issues. But my main thing is that if you, for example, don't change on some of the other stuff, then I'm much more skeptical. If you change and then you sacrifice for that change, that's a whole different realm. That's like, for example, people are like John Kiriakou. Yeah, but he went to prison. Sure. Mordechai Vanunu went to prison. Some people went into exile. That's a whole different level, right? People who lose a lot because of their principled stance, I can understand that. People who make a career out of it and don't necessarily suffer, that's when I begin to, that's when the hairs start tingling a little bit.
Yeah, I also don't really get the warm and fuzzies from somebody who says Iran is bad, but Gaza wasn't. Like, because this feels more money motivated or save my ass motivated, because Iran is a disaster.
For sure. It could be. Absolutely. You're right. Absolutely. That's why we're here. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be critical thinkers. We're not here to just gulp down everything, as it's given.
So for Venezuela, he pressured intelligence analysts to alter an assessment of the Venezuelan government's ties to Tren de Aragua to justify Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act. So he's partially responsible for Venezuela. For Gaza, he served in an administration obviously actively supporting the genocide and praised Kushner for his Middle East plans and called critics of Israel out of touch with reality. Also, do not forget, he was in the NSA this entire time, this whole buildup against Iran. So how can you sit here and say with a straight face that Trump was being pragmatic or cautious with Iran when he ripped up the JCPOA during the last administration?
Which probably which was an indication to all of us, but should have been an indication to everybody else that he was absolutely not pursuing peace. He was on the road to war. What else would have happened? No, he didn't. Remember, it was a two-part. He didn't only rip up the JCPOA. He immediately went to maximal sanctions. He went on this huge campaign of pressure, really enormous pressure, more pressure than Iran's ever felt before economically. Maximum pressure campaign was what it was called. So clearly that's not a path to peace. That's a path to war. Right.
And I feel like we're doing some real weird stuff. Now, let's take a little bit. Well, let's touch in with what Trump's thoughts are on the resignation. So this is Trump back in the day when he first talked about Kent in 2022.
But I'd like to introduce Joe to say a few words. A very incredible guy and with a tremendous future, in my opinion. Right now, he's only thinking about Congress, and maybe he'll be there for a number of years, and we don't know what's going to happen, but I think this man has a tremendous future, a very special person. Thank you very much. Come on over, Joe.
Okay, so liking him. He's got a super bright future. That's great. And here he is yesterday.
Your director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it. And many people...
So he was weak, but Trump nominated him as Tulsi's deputy. Trump's the one who nominated him. And speaking of which, we all kind of waited. We were like, where the hell is Tulsi? She finally pops up, and this is what she says, just a lip service. You know, I'd like to ask you and the viewers, but people are saying maybe in between the lines, she's kind of dissenting a bit.
Listen, if she was dissenting, she would do the principled thing and leave. She's not dissenting. What she's doing is she's saving her political ass and her military career and saying, I just presented the evidence and he made the decision.
Right.
So I'm not in the decision-making seat right now. I'm just doing my duty, which, by the way, I said on my stream last night, that was the same defense given by the Nazis at Nuremberg, by the Japanese during the war tribunals in Tokyo. We were just doing our duty. You're okay, you're doing your duty, but you have ethical compass. You know, you have a moral compass. You have some level of responsibility. You have a code that says that if the order is illegal, you have every right to not follow it.
Yeah.
If you believe that this is a war of aggression, if you believe this is a violation of international law, then you should resign. But clearly she's saying, oh, I presented the evidence and he said it was an imminent threat. But she's the one that said that not only was it a threat, Iran was not producing nuclear weapons. There was no sign. There was no intelligence in that realm.
We've played this clip before, but this is Tulsi in 2020. I won't play the whole thing because it's long, but you'll get the point.
Here are the steps that Donald Trump has taken to create a war with Iran. First, he tore up the Iran nuclear agreement.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Second, he has escalated crippling sanctions against Iran.
The sanctions kicking in at midnight Sunday target Iran's oil export.
So she had no problem campaigning on peace with Iran when it came to Trump. She had no problem grifting off Iran. Yep. But now we're holding the line for Trump.
By the way, so listen, I just want people to know, we are not new to this domain. Like you might think, oh, these cats, they're just out here just talking. No, let's play the clip. I met her in 2020. And I want to show you what I was doing 2 years before the special military operation, 2 years before most of the audience even knew about anything that was going on over there. Let's play the clip and I'll show you what she said.
This one, Chris Tulsi?
Yes,
okay.
That's it.
My name is Christopher. First and foremost, I want to thank you for your principled stand against regime change wars and endless wars. I myself fought in Syria in 2017 with Kurdish forces against ISIS. Wow. And I want to thank you for also the legislation that you introduced, the Stop the Terrorism Act, stop funding Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra, and to really standing up to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and all the Wahhabi Salafi jihadists. My question is, if you as a legislator and as president would stop the arming, funding, and supplying of Ukrainian neo-Nazis like the Azov Battalion and Right Sector, who are participating in the Ukrainian armed forces in their war against the people of Donetsk and Lugansk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is 2 years. That's why I tell people I was with the people in Donbass since 2014, baby. That's why everybody here knows me. It's not a rocket science. But I just want you to know, she answers the question by saying she supports weapons to Ukraine for defensive purposes. That's when I stopped my support for her. That's when I stopped. Literally, I was interested. I was enamored. I said, okay, we might have somebody who believes in ending the endless wars, the regime change wars, things like that. And what did she say after I asked her, will you stop funding Azov, Right Sector, Svoboda, all these groups? And she said, no, I still believe in defensive. And that's when I realized, not only did I realize that people like her were bringing us down the barrel of the gun towards World War III. But the special operation would have been inevitable at that point, because nobody, even she, wasn't willing to stop the flow of weapons, training, personnel, intelligence to the Ukrainian regime. So I just and actually somebody brings up in the chat, Ro Khanna was against funding Azov back then because it was known what was going on. But I want people to know that I took a very principled stand. I said, okay, I agree with you on Syria. I agree with you on other regime change wars. I didn't agree with her stance because she was a little bit Hundutva at the time, and she's gotten progressively worse. But I said about Ukraine, and that was the key. That was the key for me.
Well, before we absolutely eviscerate Tulsi even more, I do want to just end the Joe Kent segment. Joe Kent, the same day he resigns, announces that he's speaking at the Catholic Prayer for America, hosted by Catholic for Catholics. By the way, Catholics for Catholics is not approved by the Vatican. It is just a American whatever. And he's speaking at this thing with the likes of General Flynn, Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, Carrie Prejean Bowler. I have a real weird feeling about these Catholics who just converted. Candace recently converted. Carrie converted in 2025. Now they're doing speaking engagements after going viral. These people suss me out. I don't know about you, but it susses me out.
It's just, for me, it's interesting. I'm going to wait and see. What happens. But for me, it's just, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes we don't know.
Yeah. And this new kind of this new attack on Catholics coming from the Zionists and the evangelicals and Protestants, I feel like this group might just be grifting off of that.
It could be
like, I'm the Catholic victim.
It could be, but we know historically that anti-Catholic persecutions in the U.S. were a big deal for the KKK and for the WASP, big time. I mean, that even Kennedy, they went after him they said he was more loyal to the Pope than to the Constitution. The KKK in New England burned down more Catholic churches than attacked any blacks or Jews. So, the only attack of the KKK in my home state of Vermont was burning down a Catholic church. So it's true, the history. By the way, you remember during the confirmation, the Supreme Court nomination and confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett, it was said at the time because she was Catholic and part of that, group, that, more fringe kind of group in the Catholic Church. It was said that multiple Supreme Court justices were Catholics now, and their loyalty was in question by some of the WASP kind of Republicans. I thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was great because it was her. It was it was Kavanaugh, and it was the other one. I'm trying to remember who else it was. There were 3 of them on the court, or 4 that are Catholics. And that was, it was a very big fight. And people were like, we're back to this, 19th century, early 20th century conundrum. But yes.
It's a lot of Kang. There's nothing else that needs to be said. We don't have to have conferences. Everybody knows that Catholic teachings are against Zionism. Orthodox teachings are against Zionism. We don't need grifts. Sure. We don't need conferences. Sure. We don't need we don't need new converts to be the carriers of the cross. We just need people to bring Catholics together. That's it.
Listen, all you have to do is listen to an old granny and you ask her. I mean,
go ask your nana. Go ask your Irish grandmother. Go ask your Italian nana. Go ask your Spanish abuela.
Go ask them who killed Jesus, and they'll tell you who killed Jesus. They'll tell you. It might not be kosher, but they'll tell you who killed.
They'll tell you. But yeah, so guys, just we're not dismissing them yet. I'm just not getting the warm and fuzzies, but that could change. But let's move on because Tulsi we're getting mixed messages. Tulsi's in she's testifying today, and I actually was kind of flipping out yesterday because they're like, why are these people trying to give Trump an off-ramp? This sort of Trump is being dragged. And then the Guardian did the same thing. Well, this quote says that it proves that there was a deal on the table and Trump bombed anyway. But further down in the article, it says, one Gulf diplomat with knowledge of the talks, we regarded Witkoff and Kushner as Israeli assets that dragged a president into a war he wants to get out of. No. No. This is why I told you last episode we don't want Benjamin Netanyahu dying because this is the exact shit these people are going to do.
Yep.
Taking Trump's agency away. So I wanted to set that up a little bit because here comes Tulsi. She's testifying today. We're just going to go through some clips. I haven't really watched the whole thing, but what I've seen is a mess. So let's just play them.
Delivered
You
remarks.
chose to omit the parts that contradict the president. The president continues to say as well that, he had no idea, was shocked that the Iranians had moved to take over the Strait of Hormuz. Did you provide any intelligence that would say that it would be, that it was not likely that the Iranians would try to move on the strait?
I'm not aware of those remarks, and I think those of us here at the table can point to the fact that historically the Iranians have always threatened to leverage their control over
But why would the
Strait
president
of
say he was
Hormuz.
amazed?
I'm not aware of those remarks.
What about the comments the president made that thought that he was surprised again? Reports.
Nobody really knows anything.
I'm not aware of those comments.
I just got a message. Brent Crude is at 111. God help us all. We'll talk about why in a minute after we get through.
We're on the move, baby. We're on the move.
What is this one? Okay. This is just I don't know if this is an intelligence failure. I'll let you guys be the judge.
Now, on Monday, Madam Director, Donald Trump was asked about Iranian strikes on the Gulf states. He said, and I quote, nobody, no, the greatest experts, nobody thought they were going to hit the Gulf states. You all are supposed to be the greatest experts. That's what we have you there for. Director Gabbard, did the intelligence agencies assess that Iran could conduct strikes on our own partners in the region if it was attacked?
The intelligence community has continued to assess the potential threats to the region, the existing threats to the region, and providing those assessments to the policymakers and decision makers.
I believe Iran and every analyst in the world all told us that the strait would be closed and they would bomb the oil and gas fields.
Iran
But
literally, it hasn't been hidden. It's been in plain sight.
Well, Mossad is our only intelligence out there, so maybe they just didn't know. This one is going to blow your mind. This is a longer one. Maybe I'll wait for that one till the end. So this is Tulsi finding out about ICBMs.
However, the intelligence community assesses that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Pakistan have been researching and developing an array of novel, advanced, or traditional missile delivery systems with nuclear and conventional payloads that put our homeland within range.
Honey, the homeland's been in range since the 50s. What's wrong with you? Have you ever heard of an intercontinental ballistic missile? How about a submarine launched ballistic missile? How about a cruise missile? What is wrong with these people? Like, they're saying things as if people are so stupid. Like, hello, we had a whole Cold War. The Russians had the biggest atomic bomb ever, Tsar Bomba.
Tsar Bomba.
It's like, it just drives me nuts. Of course, we have names for all SS-18, SS-9, SS-22. We see them on the parades, May 9th. Now in the fall, remember in China, all the missiles are out there. DF-10, DF-4. Kim is out there with his missiles. Like, what is so novel about we have intelligence? Well, of course there should be intelligence. There's been intelligence for the past 70 years about this.
Well, not to mention, you gave and monitor Pakistan's nuclear program. What are you talking about, you Hindufa weirdo? Like, what are you even saying?
Clearly, she didn't say India, which gives you listen, everything and every unspoken thing is also an admission. She didn't say India, even though India is also building intercontinental ballistic missiles. But no, and it only proves the point that yes, India's in BRICS. Yes, India is part of the global south, but India's political establishment under Modi is firmly within the camp of the US, Israel, NATO. They are. They like to play both sides, but they are. That's the camp that they're at.
Here is Tulsi on whether Iran has been, this says decimated, I'll say obliterated.
The IC assesses the regime in Iran appears to be intact but largely degraded due to attacks on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protests earlier this year that Tehran suppressed by killing thousands of protesters.
So those people who were yelling at me yesterday that in between the lines Tulsi was dissenting, does this sound like dissent?
Doesn't sound like dissent to me.
And here
Doesn't
they ask her about obliterating nuclear sites.
Mr. Director Ratcliffe, you just described the specific campaign that the president is engaged in, the country's engaged in, with respect to Iran. I think the campaign has been one, in my view, without a specific rationale for the American people. 19 days into President Trump's unauthorized war with Iran, and by which I mean there has been no congressional approval. At least 13 American service members are dead and many others are injured. Yet President Trump has offered no credible justification for an imminent threat, no clear goals, no strategy or timeline. His message keeps changing, I think, in really damaging ways. President Trump said Iran's nuclear facilities had been, quote, totally obliterated in June 2025. But when he launched this latest war, he said we need to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat of those totally obliterated nuclear facilities. President Trump has threatened to seize Iranian oil and demanded our allies reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He said that I'm demanding that these countries come in and protect their own territory because it's their territory. It's the place from which they get their energy. By the way, he wasn't just asking for our allies to protect or to bail them out in the Straits of Hormuz. He was asking China to bail them out in the Straits of Hormuz. And then he said, maybe we shouldn't even be here at all because we don't need it. We have a lot of oil. And he said, we do not need the help of anyone. President Trump has declared we've won the war. We won it in the first hour. But then he said, we're not leaving until the job is finished. He said that there is practically nothing left to bomb, but then threatened to bomb Iran again, quote, just for fun. I think words that probably have never come out of a military leader in the history of the United States of America. It shouldn't come out of the mouth of a civilian leader. President Trump said he will end the war when I feel it in my bones. And any time I want to end it, it will end. But, Director, the war is not ending. It is escalating with thousands of U.S. Marines reportedly sailing toward Iran on an unclear mission, a mission that's become less clear over days, not more clear.
We're fucked. People in the comments, am I supposed to be confused? Yes.
Yes. Yes. There's
and Tulsi's not resigning in all of this. Should tell you everything you need to know.
There are no objectives. There is no clear outlook. There is no clear perspective. There are numerous objectives and perspectives from various factions of things they want. Someone Pahlavi, someone Rajavi, someone regime change, someone a moderate, someone this one, someone the micro penis. I don't know. But what I will say is this. We are staring down the barrel of major escalation. Like the attacks today and things like that. I mean, we're going to get into it. But there's some serious stuff. And meanwhile, we have Aloha over there. Oh, Aloha in Hawaiian. Yeah, you know, Hawaiians would have thrown your ass out. Because first of all, they were colonized too. They know what it's like when the Americans come. I guarantee you I can find a couple indigenous Hawaiians who are going to put their support behind Iran over the U.S. They know what, Iran didn't colonize them. U.S. did. But in any case, we really have no fucking idea what we're doing. The U.S. has no idea. And people are saying random things. Random things. Nuclear program. We obliterated it. It's destroyed again. Okay, so
they're rebuilding.
Now missile program. They're rebuilding it already. Missile program. We destroyed most of them, but they're rebuilding. UAVs. And the goalpost keeps changing.
Yep.
The goalpost keeps changing constantly. There's nothing stable or in any way firm foundational about any of this. This was all done on a whim. This was all done like Trump was. I believe that Trump did it willingly, but I also believe that everybody cooked up a nice recipe here for him.
I agree.
We're gonna do it. Don't forget, he's an older guy. Listen. We're gonna go in there. We're gonna fuck him up. We're gonna, they spoke in his language.
Yeah.
Burgers, blue jeans. We're gonna go in there. Fuck yeah, America with Israel. We're gonna bomb them all, and it's gonna be over. Yeah. Now what? By the way, have you seen the videos? By the way, have you seen the videos of the funerals?
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people on the street around the country.
Mm-hmm.
There's no regime change happening at this point. Zero. Negative regime change now. So I don't know what they plan on doing.
And even, they've actually, I almost think that I don't want to get too down in the rabbit hole, but I think a lot of this was the plan of Israel. Like, we want them to calcify. We want them to consolidate power, and we want to continue this because I don't think that regime change is the goal. I think a complete annihilation of the Iranian people is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has said it.
Amalek.
Yeah, absolutely. They're saying it again. They said it. They had guys. If you don't follow Chris Meehan, I think it is InfoLib News. He watches all the Jewish conferences, so you don't have to. They had another one yesterday where this older woman is telling them, "Don't forget what Amalek did to you. You must annihilate all of them: the men, the women, the children."
I'm Amalek. I'm proud. Come get me.
Menahan, thank you very much, Colette. Chris Menahan. It's InfoLib News. I remember the watermark, but I'm not good with people's names. So thank you for that. That is a great account. We use his videos often, but he watches some of the stuff that you don't deem necessary, and then you see it and you're like, oh my God. So yeah, here's the long Tulsi clip. This is the one that's going to make you rip your eyes out. So it's 3 minutes. So just bear with me. If it gets too much, I will stop it.
Under the law, you are responsible for providing national intelligence to the president, correct?
Yes.
And to the heads of executive branch departments and agencies, yes?
Yes.
And to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and senior military commanders?
Across the IC, yes.
And to the Senate and the House and relevant committees, correct?
Yes.
And the law states that the national intelligence you provide to Congress, quote, should be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations, correct?
Yes.
And you noted in your opening statement you're here fulfilling a statutory responsibility and that your testimony, quote, represents the IC's assessment of threats,
That's right.
Correct? That opening statement, as submitted to the committee in advance of this hearing, stated that as a result of last summer's airstrikes, quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes.
Yes.
In the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's the assessment of the intelligence community.
Yes.
The White House stated on March 1st of this year that this war was launched and was, quote, a military campaign to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, end quote. That's a statement from the White House. Quote, the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime. Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations. You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to the
Here's
president
the problem.
based on a volume
No,
of
it is
information
precisely
that he receives.
it is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States. This is the Worldwide Threats hearing.
I love when lawyers go after, because you can tell that this is like a law. It's like a, you know, it's like a hearing. It's like a courtroom proceeding. But he's drilling her. He's turning her into a fucking pretzel.
Yeah. That's Tulsi. I'm sure there's more coming out. Yeah, she did fail. These people need to be held accountable. These people think they're going to make exits and then go and do another political career. Joe Kent can seriously go fuck himself off into the dustbin of history as he cheered on the genocide in Palestine, but now the Iran is a bridge too far. I'm not doing this with these fucking people. I'm literally not doing this. I'll accept that they didn't know what side to be on with Russia, Ukraine. I'll accept that, even though it makes me sick. But Syria, Gaza, Iran are the litmus tests. If you don't pass all three, into the dustbin of history with you. That's it. Like I'm done with these fucking people, and they shouldn't be running for any more offices. They shouldn't be doing any more speeches. I don't even know how to hold Tulsi accountable in that role. Somebody asked if I know that Hegseth is impeachable. I don't know what.
No, I don't think Tulsi is. No.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, they'll all be feeling the heat a little bit. Much more soon.
You know what the responsibility is? The responsibility is that everybody watching this and everybody in the US, whenever they go public speaking or things like that, to hold them accountable. When they ask for open questions, you go up there and say, what the hell were you doing when you launched this illegal aggression? You're a war criminal. Call them out. Don't let them sleep comfortably. Call out their bullshit. You know, there's a great moment, I don't know, it exists somewhere, when George W. Bush's policy advisor came to Dartmouth College. I think it was 2019. I was a student at the time. It was about 6 months before the Tulsi clip we just aired. And she came to talk about pro-life. And I stood up at the end and I said, you are not pro-life. You don't give a damn about children because you didn't care about children in Iraq. You let 500,000 die. You let another million suffer malnourishment. So many were killed in the war. You don't give a fuck about children. You only care about white children and white elite children. You don't care about any other children in the world. And people started booing, clapping. The police came. But you know, it was so, you could tell that she was totally like, she had lost her center. She was like sweating and she needed to get out of there and things. Don't let them go on. Don't give them a platform and just let them pontificate some bullshit to get another paycheck. Hold them accountable because the truth is there. You don't have to be a rocket science. You just have to follow the news. Just follow what we're saying. This is what you have to do. You have to hold them accountable. And you know, the police came. I said, look, I didn't harm her. But I'm going to speak my truth here. I'm not going to let her get away coming to an academic institution and we're not going to have an opposing viewpoint. Oh no, it's not going to happen. All of you have that responsibility as well.
Agreed. Let's check in with the disasters known as the carriers right now. So I don't have the map, but it is on the large account. It's not important because it is the 18th right now, but on the 15th, the Lincoln that we talked about that the other day, the Lincoln had to pull back behind the mountain range in Oman, and we had the Ford transiting south through the Red Sea. It had already done its Suez transit. I believe this was from the Times, New York Times, maybe the Wall Street Journal. It's the same friggin' magazine. But they're coming out and letting us know that laundry fire on the Ford was quite an evolution, 30-hour evolution to put that fire out. Over 600 sailors and crew members. I don't know what crew members would mean. There's only sailors on the boat. Had lost their beds and have since been bunking down on floors and tables. That means that their belongings are gone. Their lives are gone. So we're dealing the 600. It's over 10% of the entire carrier. Okay, so that's a disaster. Greek media came out yesterday and said they're returning to Crete. So we've got the Lincoln hobbling along, possibly being hit, And now we have rumors. These are just rumors. It's Greek media, but they would know first if the Ford is pulling into their ports.
Yeah.
Also, Greek media reporting that the blaze may have been caused by crew members to terminate. They are on an extended deployment. We went over that last week. Again, this is unverified, the mutiny part. But I would be inclined to believe that they might limp back to Greece.
And it should be noted that Kathimerini, which means daily or every day, is one of the records, the newspapers of record in Greece. It's the biggest and most prominent news. It's like the New York Times of
right,
Greece.
And they would definitely know about the port visit before we would.
Yeah.
So there's that. And guys, we talked about this before. The Ford was on the longest of the deployments. It's supposed to go home first. We have the Lincoln that's now either damaged or it's at least hiding. And the Bush is trying to deploy, and the Bush was supposed to relieve the Ford.
Yep.
So it's a really big mess out there. And Trump is talking about doing a military operation to secure the Strait of Hormuz. But here's Caroline Leavitt today, I believe. We'll judge by the size of her lips.
On a truth that was sent out earlier today, 7:22 a.m. Eastern Time. I wonder what would happen if we, quote, finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear and fast, President DJT. Has there been any movement overnight on behalf of our allies that has softened their position about going through the Strait of Hormuz?
Not overnight, but the president and his team, especially Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio, continue to be in touch with their counterparts in Europe and, of course, our allies in the Arab engulfed region to step up and do more to help the United States in securing the Strait of Hormuz. This is to their benefit, more so than it is to the benefit of the United States. Thanks to President Trump, we are a net exporter of energy. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz for our energy here at home. For the American people, of course, we want the strait to be open for the global oil market and to stabilize prices and bring them down again. And we have options the military has options to continue doing that. But the president is right to call on our allies to step up to do more.
Step up, allies. Do more.
It's like, is that blue steel? What is that? I don't know. I can't take my eyes off of her face anytime I see her. They're getting exponentially bigger. She's protesting the strait closure. Every day the strait is closed, I'm getting fillers.
She's been Mar-a-Lago'd.
She didn't look like that at all. She's like a corn-fed, very all-American white girl.
Yeah,
Fire.
well. By the way, we do have our beloved comrade in the chat saying that, yes, it is true. Kathimerini is pro-government, like Mitsotakis' government, pro-EU, pro-NATO, and right-wing. But in any case, it is a very large and big newspaper. Everybody knows it outside of Greece. But yes, it has an agenda, just like the New York Times and Washington Post have their agendas too.
So we can't get any straight answers about the strait, no pun intended, not from Caroline Leavitt or Tulsi or Trump or anybody. But we do get pretty accurate predictions and warnings from Iran. So, recently they told the Gulf energy sites, you better get your asses out of there. Yep. And my spirit animal, who I still don't know his name. Can we please get his name? Here he is this morning, I believe.
این هشدار قاطع و خط و نشان برای جنایتکارانی است که تعرض به بخشی از زیرساخت‌های سوخت و انرژی ایران در جنوب کشور داشتند. در نتیجه این اقدام زیرساخت‌های سوخت، انرژی و گاز مبدأ تهاجم در اولین فرصت در آتش می‌سوزد و به خاکستر تبدیل می‌شود. به ارتش بزدل و متجاوز آمریکای جنایتکار و رژیم وحشی و کودککش صهیونیستی اعلام می‌کنیم. ناگزیر هستید سربازانتان را به آب انداخته و حیثیتتان را به باد بدهید. گلوی فرماندهان و سربازان شما زیر چکمه رزمندگان اسلام است. در سردرگمی راهبردی پیش رویتان واقعیت جریان صحنه نبرد مشخص است. به رخدادهای اعجاب‌انگیز فکر کنید. با سناریوی پیروزی آمدید، در حالی که در اتاقهای فکر زیرزمینی و مخفی به دنبال راهکار حفظ و بقای خود می‌گردید. دوران قلدری شما تمام شده است. تنها پناه شما برای گریختن از ضربات عملیات کوبنده ایران مقتدر خروج از منطقه یا انتخاب مرگ است و من نصر الا من عند الله العزیز الحکیم.
For those who don't know, that is General Ibrahim Ghaffari, and the Al-Ghaffari family are, somebody said, channeling inner Yemen. The Ghaffari family are very big in Iran and Yemen. They're historically a link between the two countries. So there's a lot of Ghaffaris in Iran and a lot of Ghaffaris that I know personally in Yemen when I was there in Sana'a last year. So just so you know, there's the historic link between the two. And yes, he is channeling his inner Yemen, which is amazing. He's amazing, really is.
So this was in response. This is a strike on South Pars in Iran. Now, we do know that when they first started striking the oil refineries, USA kind of said, no, we don't really want to strike the oil refineries. They're we're trying to avoid a total worldwide catastrophe, but Israel apparently struck it anyway. This morning, I'm hearing that the United States isn't giving targeting anymore. The Israelis are giving targeting.
Oh, so, and probably they're not even giving targeting from their own analysts. They're using AI.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're using Israeli AI.
Which means that what they're doing is actually they're putting in all names and locations that are mapped on, and geolocated. And then basically they put it through an algorithm, and the algorithm says, for example, it says military or police or this or that, and it just adds it to the target list. It could be like police surplus store, and it's going to get bombed.
And also, I just want to put into perspective how badly Israel is losing. This reminds me a lot of the SMO. These weird little victories. They'll post a video where they bomb one guy. And it's we killed a Besiege. And it's there's millions of them. You killed one. And they're we destroyed a Besiege headquarters. And I'm there's 50,000 of them. What do you mean? We're going to have to drop 50,000 bombs? This is just not sustainable. But like we said, Iran, promises made, promises kept. Let's check in with Saudi. I'll also check in with Qatar. You thought things were bad. Omani crude hit $152 today. They have already called Iran and said, we want to make a deal. Saudi is bugging out. Here's UAE, actually. Qatar is bugging out. They're bombing our gas fields. Here are the United States gas prices. This is from this morning.
They're temporary.
Oh, very, very. Look at yesterday. It's already up almost 10 cents. It's up 5 cents from yesterday alone. It's up $1 from a month ago. $1. That's huge.
That is huge. I'm sorry for the country that was so, elections were decided on gas prices. There you go.
Look at WTI crude. Look at Brent crude, 111. That's crazy town. Wow. So and also NASA has confirmed these strikes on the oil and gas fields. This is only going to get more severe because I don't know that Qatar, I know UAE will not make a deal with Iran.
No,
and
God,
I don't think Qatar will either. Saudi would be the first of those three, I would say. Oman, of course. Oman and Iran have a fine relationship usually.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. Bahrain might do it just to appease their population because of the Shia-Sunni divide. But who knows? Yeah.
Is Urals on here? There's Omani. It was at 110, but it did hit 150. And there's Dubai, 110. Urals crude, big up to Russia, is at 110. Russia's budget is only for Ural crude to be at $58.
Oh, Russia's getting a windfall from this. No doubt about it.
NAFO must be losing their absolute minds.
No, yeah.
Also, I wanted to make a special note about this. The Ras Laffan, this supplies like 30% of the world's natural gas.
Correct.
This is Europe. This is a huge node in the Asian, I want to say South Asian, like subcontinent and Europe gas supply. So if Russia's not going to give Europe gas, nobody's gonna.
And also we gotta mention, I'm sure we will, but we gotta mention the fertilizer industry.
Go ahead.
So fertilizers, a lot of fertilizers are made from petroleum byproducts and some of the chemicals that are retrieved from petroleum extraction and refining processes. So a lot of the fertilizers, the synthetic fertilizers that we use for major big ag, they're getting hit. And we just got news today. There's going to be a Substack, I believe, on our DD Geopolitics, I was told, an article. We already have an article about China and the fertilizers. We're going to have another one about this knock-on effect that hopefully will be out in the next day or so. But what you're looking at is knock-on effects, fertilizers, 70%, somebody's saying, of fertilizers. It's an enormous quantity. It's an enormous sum of fertilizers. Now imagine we are just getting into the growing season. It's March 19th. We're now turning to spring. So you need fertilizers for those fields. You're going to need fertilizers for the corn, the soy, the wheat. And where are people going to turn? Where are people going to turn for fertilizers? China's blocking its fertilizers. Fertilizers aren't getting through in large quantities. Refining and production factories are getting hit. We're going to have not only a knock-on effect of food, we might have food scarcity. I hope people are aware of this. This is literally, you don't have to have World War III with just nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction. This is a war also in terms of the scarcity of major resources that are critical for human survival. Petroleum products, food, you name it. These are going to be huge knock-on effects.
Also helium. Helium is needed to make chips, so we'll be facing a chip shortage again, et cetera, circuit boards, all of those things. So, I mean, well, Americans will be fine. We eat yoga mats and styrofoam for the most part. Our food is so processed. It's literally just like chemicals and entrails. So
a lot of those chemicals come from petroleum products. So just
we eat a lot of petroleum. So
it's gonna be Venezuelan. So perfection, you know, like the meme, perfection, you know. That's it.
So
it's gonna be Venezuelan.
We are so cooked. Americans have no idea. Europeans have already been dealing with a taste of it. Americans have no idea. Some people are feeling the crunch. They're saying, you know, my energy bill is insane. I know people in South Carolina complaining gas is already at $4 there. I haven't even been out today. It's probably at $6 where I am because I'm up in the Washington state on an island. So, I mean, it's only going to get more intense and much, much worse. This morning, this was posted by the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament.
Yeah, Ghalibaf. Yeah.
Beautiful words, beautiful words. We want to take a moment to talk about the loss of Larijani. For some reason, this one really grabbed my heart. I really had a soft spot for Mr. Larijani. So I wanted to take a second to say how much of a loss it was for not just Iran, but the entire international community. A voice of reason and incredible. I mean, this is his bibliography. Could you imagine Trump trying to read any of these books, let alone write any of these books? Like, why are we like, it's unbelievable. And so when we talk about Israel wanting to annihilate things, Tucker talked about this really well. They annihilate beautiful things. They annihilate good things. And that's why they kill people like Ali Larijani. And that's why they kill people like the Ayatollah. I mean, you could really just base your morality and politics on, I do the opposite of what Israel's doing or what Israel wants. And you'd be pretty good for the most part. It's really just disgusting. So I wanted to take a pause and say that, and along with Ghalibaf's post, is that you have awakened it. And if they've awakened it today with the martyrdom of Ali Larijani, What do you think is in store now, Chris?
Listen, Larijani was a very educated man, intellectual, and very, very good and astute diplomat. Now, with people like Jalili and those who are left as well, who are still alive, they are much more hardline. They're very good diplomats as well, but they will not negotiate in the same way. They are much more, I would say, they are been perceived by outsiders as being much more hardline, much more severe in their style. So part of the thinking is that Israel is trying to kill everybody that the US could negotiate with, so that they are forced to continue this, so that they're forced to either have the hardliners or, you know, nobody really, just nobodies who don't have the authority. So that is a tactic. But what I will say, I just want to say, because you said so many beautiful words, I want to say, as somebody who was a philosophy major in undergrad, my bachelor's degree is in philosophy. Well, one of my majors was philosophy, and one of my master's degrees is in philosophy. I studied under an amazing Kant scholar, and I took 3 courses on Immanuel Kant. And I can tell you that to be a Kantian scholar, to be a scholar of the critique, to be a scholar of this German philosophy, this very high level philosophy within, it depends on who you ask, within the Enlightenment tradition, and then later the Continental tradition. I will say that it is extremely intellectually challenging. Larijani probably also, I don't know for sure, but I guarantee that he also knew how to at least read German and write in German, because in order to be a Kant scholar, it's one of the requirements. So I'm just thinking to myself, what a loss of a man, and a mathematician as well, a person who was both a scholar in the pure sciences and in mathematics as well, and in the social sciences and in philosophy and the humanities. So I just, you know, it's a loss for our nation. But what I can say is that our nation produces, all of our nation emphasizes education and intellect, and that's one thing that the Americans and the Israelis will never understand. That our nation, they keep on thinking of us as backwards. Whereas as you see statistics, most of the women, advanced education. Most of the men, advanced education. The whole society, like 98, 99% literacy. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So that's what they're trying to destroy. They're trying to destroy the fact that we are an intellectual nation, that we are a nation of we're a civilization, you know, we're a nation of history.
I am getting word that the Qataris are expelling the Iranian military attaché, security attaché, and all office staff after the attack on their LNG plant. Guys, remember before Larijani was, again, we didn't verify that 100%, that's just reportedly, but before Larijani was martyred, he said they need to make a choice.
Yep.
That this is Qatar making their choice. So keep that in mind as we progress through this thing. I really don't know what Qatar is thinking or how they think they're going to get out of this, but if that news is true. But
well, what it could mean, I foresee, if this continues another few weeks, I could foresee the severing of diplomatic relations between Iran and some countries in the Gulf, with the Gulf initiating it. We could see the expulsion of the Iranian ambassador from some of the countries in the Gulf. And we could see, you know, part of me, I was thinking today, actually, as I was, you know, writing and reading, I was wondering if some of these Gulf countries will get involved militarily. I think it would be a very, very disastrous choice to do that. But I'm wondering if they will get even more militarily involved, or if they're going to try to remain out of it, depending on how long it goes and what the cost is for them. Because Saudi Arabia has a major air force. The other countries also have limited capabilities, but still they have capabilities. I'm just wondering if this escalates even more, what we could see.
Good point. They plan to run a pipeline through Palestine, Syria, through Qatar. Yeah, I mean, they're treacherous. But what did the Iraqis say? Qatar can go back to Oman. It's not even a real state. Like, why are we listening to these people? Anyway, that news is confirmed. They did expel the Iranians from Qatar. And you want to know what, Iran? I think you should see it as a good thing.
Yeah. You know what? That's it. If it's all is an expulsion, all right. The UAE should go back to. I think it was an analyst, wasn't it? On Iraq
Yeah, we played it last week. Back to Iran.
UAE to Oman. UAE to
UAE to
Oman.
Oman.
UAE to Iraq.
He said Qatar's not a real state. Bahrain back to Iran.
Yes, so there you go.
And then Kuwait back to Iraq.
There you go.
I mean,
somebody's asking to explain about the differences between Sunni and Shia. I'll do it on my program. I'll do it on my program. Tomorrow, if you want to talk about that, I'll talk about it. I'll take you down the path to talk about some of the differences as well as I know them and as I've studied it and from my education, we can talk about it.
Yeah, Chris will give you a whole autistic spurg out on that if you want it. Let's do the super chats. Hello, Ramadan Mubarak and Eid Mubarak to everyone, right? Is it Eid Is it Eid soon?
Yeah.
It's Eid in like 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. 2 days.
We love you too. Thank you for being a non-paid mod. Just ordered their Zionist Tears coffee mug. That peace t-shirt is the original artwork by an Iranian. It's 3 doves in the Iranian flag. Really love that design. Yeah. Could Hegseth be held accountable? Yes, he's impeachable for that. What they will do, I don't know, but he is impeachable for that. It's absolutely illegal. And yes, we could still chalk it up to mental retardation, but it doesn't make it legal. Am I suspicious? I don't know. Seems like kind of
I like him.
Yeah, he seems like a regular guy to me. So maybe he just got caught up in stuff he didn't want to be caught up in, and now he's trying to do his due diligence to sort of not repent. I don't want to say repent because that presumes guilt, but sort of make that right. That's the vibe that I get from Anthony Aguilar. So I don't know. That's just me. Again, happy upcoming Eid. Did you guys know that Idi Amin, one of the only presidents to expel the Israelis from his country successfully, is named after Eid? Did you know that?
There you go.
That's a fun fact. Trump lies with a straight face, so why shouldn't his cabinet? Well, they've been practicing. And you want to know what? I was never a Tulsi fan because I didn't really align with a lot of her policies, but I respected her. If that makes sense. And this is just like, first of all, I mean, I was stupid anyway. How are you? Most veterans that still kind of like act operator-ish are not anti-war. They're just pretending. And I should have known. Thank you, Will, as always. I'll throw this to Chris. What's your opinion on the state of BRICS? Sadly, it looks as if it is now in an abysmal state. Saudi was never in BRICS. UAE is not in BRICS.
UAE is in BRICS, absolutely. It's plus.
In BRICS. But Saudi is not in BRICS. India, UAE, Saudi, and no, Saudi never did. They never joined.
No, Saudi never did. But Saudi was in the orbit of BRICS as the Chinese were kind of, courting them as well. So I did a major program last night. I did I did my show and we talked about it. We read an article by a Chinese author about the Chinese policy. And then we read the article from a Brazilian author about BRICS. What I will say to sum it up, but you can definitely go and check the live stream from last night from my show. And I'll also clip it as well for the coming days. Basically, BRICS was never meant to be a replacement for the UN. It was never meant to be a replacement for international institutions. No. It really is a loose there's no set rules. There's no really set agenda. There's no really set power structure within BRICS. And instead of focusing on the 5 original members, they decided to expand to BRICS Plus without really centralizing power and centralizing an understanding of what they are to begin with. So it's not a Warsaw Pact 2.0. It's not a UN 2.0. It's not a non-aligned movement. It is a sort of unofficial, it's an official, but sort of very loose anti-West, not anti-West. It's a
anti-sanction economic alliance.
It's an economic alliance that doesn't include any Western countries. We'll put it that way. Yeah, it's meant to be a peace without the West.
Yeah, you can't respect their sanctions.
It doesn't have any power. It has no real power. We're not living in the times of the Soviet Union and Mao's China at this point. I just want everyone to know, or Indira Gandhi's India. None of that.
Gotta run, but we'll finish watching later. Thank you guys. Great work. Thanks, Chris, for showing how phony. Yeah, you guys, they call Chris baby ISIS, even though he was fighting ISIS because of how he looked back then. Thank you so much for tuning in, Naz. Always good to see you. Ordered 4-piece shirts. You could let me know. I can make kids' clothes. It's very easy. Thanks for helping us through. Don't feel black-pilled. I'm feeling less black-pilled now than I was 2 weeks ago, or maybe 2 shows ago, 3 shows ago. Chris and I were both very black-pilled. I'm feeling much better.
I've never black pilled, but I will get into that like emotional Shia realm. But always that music will, that music will bring me back. I'm like, all right, we're on the move. We're on the move. So
yeah. And so, are you streaming today? Or are you gonna take the night off?
No, I'm not streaming today. I'm streaming tomorrow. So everybody check in tomorrow.
Guys, tune in to Chris's show. Please subscribe on Chris's channel, not just ours, but watch both. I mean, why not? Just put one on mute.
Yeah, I'll put the link. Let me put in the link again so that all of you have it. So here, I'm going to post it for those of you who don't have it. That's to the videos, but that's the channel as well. So just take a look, subscribe to the channel, please. Show some love. It's part of the DD Geopolitics family. We want to continue to expand. We want to continue to do great things, bring you great content. And we want to keep doing all the things to open your eyes, open your minds, and hopefully open your hearts as well.
What's the hopeful outlook? Okay. I am a person who I'm very pragmatic, and I am a long-term person. So my silver lining is now that the suffering is starting here, that means that the collapse is coming more. And that to me is a silver lining. I don't know that Americans understand that in order to defeat Zionism, the American empire needs to crumble.
It does.
And so when I see cracks beginning to show, to me, that's hopeful. I'm willing to make the sacrifices that are needed in order to not have Zionism in this world for our children and grandchildren. Like I watch videos. They went up to a woman. If you ever need inspiration, go watch videos of the Iranians. They went up to a woman. She's holding her son. He says, "How old is your son?" She says, "He's 2.5." He says, "Does he still wear diapers?" She says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, what are you going to do when there's no water and no fuel to like heat up the water?" And she says, "Why would I even think about that when the Palestinians have been, if they can hold on, we're going to figure it out." And like, we're worried about gas prices and our electricity. Don't pay it that. You know what I mean? Like there's so much, this is so trivial in the sense of what we're actually doing. We're birthing a new world order.
We are. These are the birth pangs of the multipolar world, if you want to call it like that. This is a complete transformation.
It is. And that's going to be obviously very, very painful. And so don't despair. I think this was a hopeful episode. Plus, if awesome Jew Adam King is attacking me, that's good. That's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
The crazy Zionists are very quiet today. That's also a really good sign. Like these are good signs. So remaining hopeful. We will continue to be here. Chris will be here tomorrow.
I'll be here.
We will both see you on Sunday.
We will.
Fuck gas prices.
That's a good way to end. Lots of love, everybody.
Bye, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week.